Here's the gear for today's shave, folks. And we're doing a couple of things with today's shave. We are going to try the Moon soaps here. This is Amaretto with the slurry lather method. We're going to try the B7 knot from Declaration Grooming. It represents kind of the category of maybe firm, more natural tips. Maybe not, I can't remember, I'll have to see. But definitely some backbone. I don't really care for it. I'm going to be selling this brush, but I thought it was great test here to see if that level of backbone offers us any information into the slurry lather technique. I believe it's still going to be just fine to use it. Get that back in the cup so we can have maximum tip softness. Cup of water, that is. And so that's two things related to the slurry lather. And we are also going to try this razor. It is, I think it's the same head design as the Maggard V3, which I've used plenty of times before. But this represents an inexpensive razor that you can get off of AliExpress for probably less than $10, especially if you find it on sale. And we'll unbox that and show it to you in a second. The handle doesn't feel stainless steel like what you would get if you ordered a razor from Maggards. But I do have a lot of people international who watch my channel, and I wanted to, Maggard does have international shipping, and I definitely support them as a company, but many people do find AliExpress to be a little bit more reachable to their part of the world. And so I shaved previously with another razor from AliExpress. It was the Biley 191 or 171, something like that. And it was a great shave. It still shaved really well. That's the same as the Maggard V3M for mild. And that was the Biley version accessible directly from Maggard from AliExpress. Now, if you get the same head, it seems to me, looks identical. If you go from Maggard, because then you'll get a stainless steel handle, but that does cost you a little bit more than buying the alloy type handles that you'll get from AliExpress in many cases. Ali does sell brass handles and other the same heads on many different razors, and so you can choose. But I'm evaluating the cheapest options because for people who want to join in this type of shaving, I don't want them to think that there is only the expensive doorway to come into this hobby. It can also be stepped into in an inexpensive way, and that can be done through the razor I used before, that Biley, and then this one as well. Is this a Biley? I think no, technically not. And I hesitate to even like show the information about this particular razor itself. I don't know if you'll be able to read it or not, but the key is once you learn to recognize the head here on this razor, you can identify it. So many people resell it, and the thing is, some guys will resell it for $50 when you can just get it for $10, which is crazy. Now, something it also represents an inexpensive entry point into this hobby is the Astra Superior Platinum blade. It works for me very well across pretty much every razor that I own, and so that's why I chose him, because something has to be stable in this big experiment. I think that this soap base is going to be fine. I think that brush is going to be fine. And so I'm changing two variables at once to try that with the slurry lather. But with the razor, to make sure that it is evaluated fairly, I wanted something reliable. I'm pretty sure that I've used the Astra blade, not this exact one, but this model in the Maggard V3, and so it's probable that I've used this combination before. As we can see, this looks like it'll be the 11th use, judging by the number of dots. The description of the video will have the most accurate count in case my dot is inaccurate over time. So this just slides up. I'm going to give you a couple of the ways that you can recognize this head. So if you're in the market, you will be able to find it. They do give you some kind of off-brand blades. Go ahead and try them, but I would definitely also place an order for something reliable. There's not much to it. That doesn't need to be because it's an inexpensive razor. So we just pull that out. You can see that the chrome plating is, it just doesn't look nearly as nice as a stainless steel model, but that's okay. This is like a $10 razor. That's just kind of the way it's supposed to be. You unscrew the handle like most three-piece razors. It feels like it's hollow inside, but again, it doesn't really matter too much. And then you have the top cap and the base plate. The reason I don't use this type of razor very much is seen easily with the base plate here. I talk about it all the time on my channel because I value a smooth razor experience, and this type almost never delivers that. And here's why. Do you see, if I center the blade, how much of the blade overhangs that left or right top rail there? 6 millimeters, 5 millimeters. I mean, some big amount like that. And so it lets the blade have room to make micro vibrations, to move in a very small way. And that movement translates into a less smooth shave than you get with razors that don't have this kind of overhang. And it's just very typical. There are vintage Gillette razors that have this kind of overhang, like many of the new, they're called new, the new improved, those sorts. The long comb new is the same way. The short comb, however, has a whole different base plate design, and so it's actually very good. Now, what to look for to see if the razor you're looking at, whether it's like maybe something from Viking's Blade or some other company that's doing a big marketing strategy to try to reel you in with manliness and all these other claims, when all they're giving you is a Chinese razor and some marketing with a whole big upcharge. There's plenty of companies other than Viking's Blade that do that. If you look at the side, there's a curve, a slight curve to this bottom part here. You can see the ends of the two rails that contact the top cap. Top cap's pretty rounded on top. There's nothing special too much about that. But the bottom, the base plate here, and this is something you can almost always see with an illustration or a photo that they have taken a picture of their razor. Out here, it's a little farther down and it comes in higher up this way as it gets to the point where the handle screws into the bolt. And so there's a little ramp right there across the little pinhole there. And that's such an easy telltale mark about this type of head, because I'm certain that there's one or two companies out there that are making this head and stamping them out in a die machine and just sending them to so many companies. Or maybe they're sending them to places like AliExpress or Alibaba, and then all these other marketing companies are ordering those and then rebranding them. So what are like these? The Jaggers, the very similar heads here. The Jaggers and the Parkers and the Merkur razors and that sort of thing. Not exactly the same head, but the DE89 series is going to be very similar to this, whether it's Muhle or Jagger. All right. With these, because they are stamped out in an alloy type situation, they're not precision ground or anything like that. That's fine if you want a cheap razor, right? You don't actually want precision ground because that's going to cost you some money. But one thing you have to do is look at the way the blade comes out on each side and make sure it's even. Make sure the blade is parallel. Now this particular one covers the ends of the blade, and so you can't use that to adjust. And so if you do have to make an adjustment, I like to use the back of my fingernail to do that. and then lock it down. Get my face wet. It's going to be a little bit of a test of this razor because I've got almost a week's worth of growth on my face. And so if it doesn't do very well on that, it's okay. We're not going to hold that against it. There are a lot of better razors that cost a lot more money that also don't do very well with this much stubble. But once that first pass of stubble's gone and it's a more reasonable amount, then we'll be able to gauge how this razor is going to operate here. And with so many uses on this blade, then I'm confident that the blade's going to be kind as well. I had a Gillette Silver Blue on hand, but it was brand new. And I find a lot of times use number 2 or 3 is where I really enjoy the blades at just the peak. And I didn't want that extra edginess on that first pass, on that first use of the blade to make this maybe a little bit less smooth. So I think this blade will give it the best chance for a good shave today. So Moon Soaps, this is their Amaretto scent, and it's a nice type scent that's that amaretto or almond or that kind of a thing. It's a traditional shaving scent. I do really like their artwork. It's got this classic shaving vibe, but with freshness and as well. And so I really enjoy it. This soap hasn't been used in a while. We do have, I'm going to get the water running because I want to get some warm water up here. This is the dead of winter here, and the water is really cold. My beard is wet. Let's take this brush, and the slurry lather method starts with a whole lot of water in your brush. See, there's a ton of water in there. I can feel the weight of it. And so let's just go ahead in here and kind of work it until a thick froth. I said thicky, but I was combining in my head frothy and thick at the same time, and it didn't work out, did it? All right, it's a lot of water in there, and let's see what happens. That is a ton of water in there, but that's okay. We've got a light froth developing now. This soap hadn't been used in a while. That can sometimes make the difference. Okay, it's still very wet inside, but you can see the amount of kind of froth on the brush there. I've got a lot of soapiness going down there. The brush really holds a lot of water, and so it may have actually put too much water in the brush, but that's okay. That's rarely ever a bad thing. Washing off the side of my soap tub, keep those threads from getting soap buildup. Then we'll go straight to my face with the brush. I did let the excess water drip into this bowl here. You can see that. So let's just kind of, the slurry lather, as you can see, I am generating a slurry on my face. Sometimes the slurry lather doesn't look the same when you have a lot of stubble. So, yeah, this is working just fine for the slurry. It would be even better. You don't have to get a mature lather on the first pass, but you just have to get some soap and a lot of water on your face. And that's pretty much what we've done. Because, as it turns out, the water combined with that soap in a elemental, rudimentary, early way is still super slick. Later on, it will get more creamy as we develop a lather with more maturity, and we have less water as separate water and less soap as separate soap, and it's all a great emulsion, and that'll be really nice and luxurious. But this method is made, I discovered it, and I think it works really well for people who are in a hurry, and also for people who are playing around. And it may be good for beginners too. And I think it has a lot of benefits. Short strokes help this thick stubble to get taken down. we'll test the slickness later. It's given me a nice level of scent strength. I like that. Lots of stubble coming out of the razor. It is kind of a messy method in terms of getting your shirt all soapy and stubbly. But I think it's a method that our grandfathers may have used, because I think in terms of being a person who's in a hurry, this method has a bit of intuitiveness to it. It might be a method somebody just used thinking, hey, I need to hurry. I'm not going to take the time to build a lather. I'm just going to get some soapy water on my face and shave. Let's take a quick look at the razor. The nice thing about this, because of all that overhang, there's plenty of room for the hair not to get all gunked up. And so the stubble that I had on my face, the length of which just is not clogging up the razor. That's a strength. Now, most of that hair is gone comfortably, not in a tugging way, so that's really good. Now let's do a quick water rinse. Now, that particular time, it did not leave a whole lot of residual soap on my face. Most of the time, that rinse after the first pass does still feel very, very slick. Maybe it's because of just that excess amount of water I had with the brush from the start. But now let's kind of do it again. I think what we're doing is we're laying that soap on your face and then surrounding it with a whole bunch of water. And with the second pass, you don't even have to take this long. Again, just throw a slurry on your face and you're good to go. These tips are quite comfortable. They're not very jelly to me. They were treated with a bleach type product like most of the tips are from Declaration Grooming. I'm going to go across the grain this pass. Very comfortable. As always, the usual razor technique involves a very light touch. It's working very well, very comfortable. This razor is a popular one, recommended to a lot of beginners in terms of telling people to, hey, get online, order Maggard's beginner kit starter pack, you know, because you can get the V3 head or choose the aggressive version or the mild version of the V3 head that they have. And this is why, because it's given me a good shave and it's got enough of exposure to be able to have the person not worry as much about having exactly the right blade angle, kind of unlike the previous one that I used, which it was more mild, and so it was a little harder to find the blade angle, but when you did, it was this golden type moment where the blade just felt so much better on your skin, it was firm, that sort of thing. All right, now do that rinse, half rinse. Now, Moon is not one of those that I believe that has been around forever, but I also don't believe that their resembles kind of the new breed, like Seaforth, 345 Soaps, Master Soap Creations. There's been these new ones that have come along that have just a really great base from the start, and Moon doesn't seem to be that way. Yeah, I really like that scent. It's classic. Ingredients, this is a tallow formula. Oh, and they render their tallow in-house, so that's kind of good. Moonsoaps.com. Did they put their ingredients on the lid? Oh yeah, around the edge. Okay, where's the start? If I don't know where the start is, how do I know where the percentages are? You know, what are the most... Okay, fragrance oil has got to be the end. So water, beef tallow, stearic acid, shea butter, almond oil, castor oil, potassium hydroxide, coconut oil. Okay, so it looks like coconut oil comes toward the end. It's a little bit more of a drying type oil, and I think it's usually good if that one comes toward the end. I usually get the type of lather is slick and creamy and that sort of thing in the best way when coconut oil is not in the first few ingredients. So this is comfortable. Yeah, I'm happy with this. Okay, so now we take the brush. This is the third pass. And often the third pass resembles more of a mature lather. But with this brush and the amount of water that it had, I think that water actually got in the way of me loading enough soap onto the brush. However, you can kind of see that bit of mature lather kind of developing, and so we can bring it out by doing a little bit of rotation on my face. I really like this kind of ivory handle. It's got that classic kind of shape, popularized by Dogwood Handcrafts for one. This is a Viking handle, Viking ivory handle. Doesn't really have any designations, but I mean, the person who sold it to me, Seth, provided me with a great deal on a bunch of stuff, and this brush was in the mix. And this is the B7, and I tell you, this is feeling pretty good. It is splaying fairly easily. I'm having to work a little bit to keep it in splay, but the tips are quite comfortable. They're not jelly or anything like that, but they are comfortable. I think this one maybe deserves a little bit more time, more uses before I commit to selling it. See, now we've got that mature lather that we can kind of enjoy on the third pass. If you're in a hurry, like many people who might use this method are, you don't have to go for this long. That early slurry that I was able to put on, even on this pass, is perfectly great. Just like pass 1 and pass 2 were. It's perfectly great for shaving, slickness, and all that. But as you can see, by going with a lot of water in the beginning, we gradually get toward a wonderful creamy lather like this. The typical face lather method that's out there right now is one where you start a lot of concentrate, a lot of soap on your brush, and it takes the opposite way of starting with more soap and adding water. And the problem with that is a lot of people stop adding water too soon, and they never get to something like this. And they get more concentrate on their face. A lot of soap is wasted down the drain when you wash that first pass down the drain. And so I'm hoping we can improve that with this, coming at it from a high hydration, a water focus that is this method. So yeah, this is terrific. Great slickness here. I can feel it. And this is really creamy and luxurious. Now this base is not quite as high performance, maybe because of all those oils, as some of the other ones, you know, like Sterling and Barrister and Mann and Declaration Grooming and, you know, Seaforth and all those guys. Let's see what we get when I feel the blade edge just a little bit, but for the most part, very comfortable. So if you're just starting out, this may be a very good razor for you to try if you're international, and AliExpress is the one for you, the vendor for you to easily get products from, because maybe their delivery is better. You can look for this one and this type of head. Just look for it, like I told you. Look at the pictures in the thing. Look for the reviews of the vendor as well. Make sure they're reliable. but look for this head shape. It'll be on many different handles. This handle's working out well. But look for that little, the part that it kind of comes in once you get toward the handle. It comes in at kind of a ramp there that you can hopefully see. And you can see the pinholes down here. You have those two rails that I showed you, went all the way across the top of the base plate there. And you do have a little bit of scalloping on the safety bar here. I don't think that really helps too much, but it looks nice. So I wouldn't rate this Moon base as, in terms of slickness, I wouldn't rate it as highly as many others. But it's getting the job done. And with all those oils, it may be kind to your skin. It may offer nourishing benefits, but I don't really care about that as much. Those are not my priorities. So there we go, comfy shave. Let's get a good rinse now. I have some full measure of Mann balm from Barrister and Mann here, and I really enjoy it. So, and the balm, it doesn't have as good of a shelf life as splashes do. Like I have this Fine Accoutrements Platinum Splash. Those alcohol-based splashes will just last forever. And so I want to make sure my balm doesn't go bad. And I love this scent. If you like tobacco, wood, that sort of thing, man, this is just wonderful. It's rich. And it's got some nice staying power. I remember the last time I used this balm, I smelled it for hours after using it, and it was very nice. So there we go. Excellent. By doing it when my face is wet, I don't quite have to use so much product. And I don't need a ton of moisturizing. I have a naturally oily face. So we're going to clean the brush out. And I'll say that I may enjoy that mild version that I used last time, the 171, 191, that sort of thing, because it has better clamping toward the end. But this one did very well, and there's a reason, like I said, that this is recommended so well for the Maggard starter kits. The Sterling soaps has a starter kit that's also very nice because they excel in soaps. And so they'll give you a razor similar to this one, probably a stainless steel handle. Don't quote me on that, but this a similar head, probably very much like this one. And the soap is going to be great quality. I think they have the normal kind of Maggard synthetic brushes that would be very compatible, liked by many people. And so this is a great way to start out. And you can learn to have good technique on this one, and then figure out where you want to go from there. Or shave your whole life with razors like this. The fact that it is alloy does mean that with screwing and unscrewing, the threading right here on this bolt will lose its plating over time. The plating, chrome plating, is going to protect it from corrosion. When that plating is worn away, water can get into that alloy. And this whole razor pretty much is the same alloy. This one seems to be that. It's too light to be stainless steel, I think. And then it will start to corrode that bolt. And so do your best to keep that dry right there, and it will last years. If you don't, it could be just a year and a half before this bolt breaks and half of it inside the handle, and you have to throw the whole thing away. But if it only costs you $10 or $12, then if it breaks every 3 or 4 years, then maybe that's okay, right? It's reachable by you in whatever country you live in, and it's inexpensive, and that's a pretty cheap cost, especially compared to the disposable razor situation, cartridges and that sort of thing. So that's why I'm doing it today, to show you that this is a good performing, inexpensive razor that can help you out if you don't have enough money to go for something nicer, or you just choose your money. You have a lot of money, but you choose to be kind of frugal with it. It's a great option, gives you good shaves. It seems like the gelling product that was put on these tips was not as long, did not sit as long as the B5, for instance. And so it has a little bit less of a gel softness factor, but that also means these are stronger tips. meaning they will last more like decades and break a little less quickly. I mean, the B5 will still last for years, especially if you have a large brush rotation. But the more you treat with bleach the tips, then kind of the more you damage them a little bit, and they won't be lifetime brushes with a lot of use, that sort of thing. So I'm going to give this guy more use, because look how open he is. He may just have enough loft to flex and give me that movement that I want. And there we go. Oh, I am just really enjoying the richness of the balm here. The Amaretto, great scent to shave with. It's classic. I enjoyed it. The soap itself, the base, does work just fine with the slurry lather method. And this, I think, is an example of what happens when maybe you go to load with this particular base with too much water. I think that can actually get in your way of pulling soap out from the tub and onto the brush. The water just kind of maybe kept washing it out of the brush as you were trying to load, something like that. But I still was able to get enough on the brush to where I made the slurry in pass number 1 and 2 and 3. And then 3, I worked it for a little bit longer and got it to a mature lather that was very, very wet and creamy as well. It wasn't quite maybe the slickness that I prefer, and that's probably due to all the oils and things like that they've chosen to include in this particular base for various, probably skincare reasons, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it does sometimes affect the type of slickness that you experience. I think we're good. That's it. Thanks so much for joining me, showing off the fact that this inexpensive razor is a good option to pretty much anybody, especially those who want to try this hobby out. We also proved that the B7 knot, at least with this particular loft, presented a great brush to use in the slurry lather method. The Moon Soaps does work. I might try it again, maybe with a little bit less water, and see if it works even better. And there we go. That's what we wanted to prove today. Thanks so much for watching. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. Good night.